the end of the day, the customers just want to be able to get on with their travel experience. And so make it easy, reduce the frustration to the extent you have to interact with a person, have that interaction actually be good and friendly with somebody who's empathetic. Like that's what JetBlue and Alaska are shining on. To the extent that the people feedback ends up mattering, they always do quite well on those things. And they're just reducing customer effort across the board.
Hi, Jason. So good to see you this afternoon.
Hi, Jeff. Yeah, so nice to catch up.
So today we're going to talk about some strategies that airlines can use to smooth over the experience when flight disruptions inevitably happen, particularly in peak periods. So why don't we start off with some brief introductions? Jason, do you want to get started?
Yeah, Jason Barro, founder of the NPS Prism business.
And my name is Jeff Forman. I lead our U.S. airlines work with NPS Prism. So, Jason, I guess to get started, which airlines do you think are really handling cancellations and delays the best in the industry? You know, we're coming out of the summer. Travel has been heightened, and seems like these disruptions are kind of inevitable.
Yeah, the industry as a whole is, I think, doing worse than it used to. We're still seeing, JetBlue and Alaska doing relatively well compared to a lot of the other airlines. But I think this is a major source of frustration for passengers. I know it is for me personally. I'm sure it is for you. Everything feels a little bit less reliable and feels a little bit more complicated to solve problems when they come up. And we see that all over the place in our data.
And what are some things that JetBlue and Alaska do really well? What's setting them apart from the industry for these episodes?
Yeah, at the end of the day, what the customers want is not a surprise. They don't want to have to work very hard to solve these problems. So how much effort does it take in order to get themselves from a bad situation to a good situation if they have to change? So just effort levels. Is it easy? Are they getting clear information? Are they when airlines are giving you estimates of how long the delay is going to be, are they close to accurate? Do they keep giving you sort of different estimates in some continuous way, in a way that is annoying the customers? So it's just, at the end of the day, the customers just want to be able to get on with their travel experience. And so make it easy, reduce the frustration to the extent you have to interact with a person, have that interaction actually be good and friendly with somebody who's empathetic. Like that's what JetBlue and Alaska are shining on. Like to the extent that the people feedback ends up mattering, they always do quite well on those things. And they're just reducing customer effort across the board.
Absolutely. And one of the conversations I have with clients all the time in this space is around the app. I know we see really massive channel switching penalties when maybe the customer is notified of a cancellation on the app. They're given some options through the app, but if those options don't work, or they want to cancel their trip entirely, that maybe they have to call the call center or speak with a representative, and that really is damaging to the overall experience. Is that something that you see with other industries as well?
Yeah, this is a big theme that we see across lots of industries. This, in theory, everybody gets that digital should be easier than human. Nobody wants to pick up the phone and call 1-800, airline. Like you don't want to do that. You'd like to be able to handle it with 3 swipes of the thumb. The problem is that for complicated things, whether it be changing my flights after there's been a cancellation, which is similar to like having a dispute about fees, or my cable has gone out. These are often things where you're not getting the answer you want digitally. This happened to me. I had a cancellation this summer on an airline. And the way I found out was that they had moved me to a really bad flight option. It was like 6 a.m. the day after, connecting through some far-flung city, getting us in. This was not the best next option for us at all. And at the end of the day, there was a way for us to get down there fully almost 15, 18 hours earlier than what their automatic solution was for us. But the process for us to land in that flight was really hard. And it involved 2-3 phone calls. But the digital stuff was clearly hopeless from the very beginning. And I think what a lot of our clients miss is this question of, when the digital flow isn't going to work, how hard is it for the customers to get into a flow that will work? And airlines are among the worst at, well, once it didn't work digitally, you almost have to start over. Like you call, you wait on hold for 45 minutes. You have to start completely fresh. Like this time I won't even say which airline it was, but we ended up with 3 or 4 different phone calls into the airline. Every time we did, we got a very different answer as to what our choice set was. Like it was this game we had to play of eventually we'll talk to someone who might help us. And then eventually we got what we needed. And the hard thing was the right answer was the airline was supposed to enable us to go on a different airline. That was what was required. And they didn't want me to do that, but that's what they were supposed to do. They made me fight in order to make that a reality.
Yeah. A couple of things resonate with what you just said. I mean, one is the clarity of the policy is so important, right? When these things happen, customers want to know what they're entitled to from the beginning, whether it's a flight on a seat on the next flight, whether it's a hotel accommodation, a meal. That really matters for the customer.
Yeah, it really does. And that's one of the reasons that like Southwest has had some recent periods where this got really out of hand, but in general, their rules are super easy. Like, it's very easy to switch from flight A to flight B, and it's clear what the rules are. And simple rules make for the 3 swipe of the thumb solutions to actually work.
Yeah.
It becomes super complex if it's like, well, you could switch to that flight, but only if you pay an extra $32 and you agree to return on a different, if you make the rules super complicated, that almost forces you into human channel. And this just came up with one of my cable clients. It's exactly the same thing. If you're going to, they wanted to have their customers be able to do sort of change their cable plan digitally. But it's like the package and pricing is so complicated that nobody makes it through the digital flow. Like you just can't possibly, that there's a better option if only you can get in touch with a human, that there's a bargain to be had. And it's the same with the airlines. That there's a better answer after a cancellation than the one they're going to give you automatically. You just have to figure out how to get into an appropriate negotiation with an actual human who has some authority. And you always have that thought in the back of your mind. And as long as that's true, people are going to flood the call centers. And then the hold times have just gotten like absurd with airlines. It's among the worst hold times that I have in my own personal customer experiences. It's these jokes where my wife and I are each on hold and like the phones are just playing hold music in the background for like an hour. I don't know if you've done, like I've definitely done that multiple
We've
times
all been
in the
there.
last 6 months.
Yep. and then like you were mentioning earlier, it's incredibly frustrating when you get through the hour-long wait, and then they don't have any information on your progress throughout the cancellation journey. It's awful. It's a huge opportunity for information sharing improvement.
The last time we did it, my wife and I we were each on hold on the phone, and we were each on hold in chat. Like we each sort of teed up a chat conversation which had a different hold queue, and we were on hold on the phone. And it's just this absurd game. It like takes over our life. And the funny thing is we see, how much personal time can you take from a customer before they get super mad? And the answer doesn't go out much further than like 30 minutes. Like by the time you've stolen a half hour of a person's time, they're pretty angry. And the hold times are like 45 minutes. So it's almost like you've burned up all of the effort that the customers were willing to put forward, even before you let them say word one to you. And so it's a very difficult hole to dig your way out of once you're in it as an airline.
It also, in my experience is talking about this with clients, the airline has some agency in kind of determining how severe the disruption is, right? Not all disruptions are made the same. Sometimes it's going to take more than a Biscoff cookie and a Diet Coke to smooth over the experience. Right. And in most cases, we need more than that. And so how can airlines think about that?
Well, I mean, it is interesting. You can actually, this has happened to me in my personal travel experiences too. It's like if the thing is so bad and then they give you something super small, that's almost more insulting than not giving me anything. Yeah. It's like you thought, a $25 drink voucher was going to solve this. You just stole 12 hours of my life and you think $20 is going to cover it. It's like you were better off almost not doing anything. But it's exactly, but some of it is also just the soft stuff. Like one of the things we see in the tool is like, are the people on the phone appropriately empathetic? Like, are they appreciating what it is they're doing? Do they know if you're traveling with your family and this is a leisure thing versus it's a business thing? Do they know when they're supposed to like apologize and sort of act like they know they've done something? There's a whole bunch of, well, this wasn't our fault, so it's not on us to sort of notice that you're in a bad way. But all those soft things like apologize, explain, we see in the tool all the time. If the person's appropriately empathetic, if they spend the right amount of time with you, if they provide the clarity on those very complicated rules for you so that you feel like you understand, all that stuff matters. And all those things, to the extent you're doing them, it actually reduces the need to hand out the $50 voucher. Like, it's been a long time since I've needed an airline to give me a hotel room for a night. That's when things have really broken. It's like, hopefully we're never getting that far. Like, I've traveled enough in my life, I've seen almost everything. But if it's getting to the point where I care about which hotel you're putting me in, I'm already really angry.
For sure.
It's gonna be hard to make me happy with some hotel room near the airport.
100%. And Jason, you alluded to this a little bit with Southwest earlier, but with peak travel times in particular, we see this with holiday travel, with summer travel. How can airlines position themselves to kind of recover that customer confidence in them when these kinds of cancellations and disruptions happen on a large scale?
Yeah, this is really hard. And this is a tough message for a lot of our clients. You can ask yourself, like, if a friend or somebody does something really bad to you, how many times are they going to have to do something good in a row before you forget the one really bad thing? And this is not uniform. Like, people's trust ratchets down a lot faster than it ratchets back up. And so at the end of the day, like, even if you return to your operational levels that you had prior to the big mess, your scores are going to be at a lower level for a while, because there's a certain amount of, if it got really bad, how are they going to handle it? And it's almost like, you can imagine as a Southwest customer, you might be saying to yourself, well, I'm going to have to see how they handle next Christmas before I really know if I trust them again. And so even if you've had 3, 4, 5, 6 good flight experiences since whatever bad thing they did to you over the holidays, you're probably not back to the old level. And it might take you 2 Christmases before you're sort of really back. And it's a hard message. It's like, it's very easy to lose all that trust almost overnight. But then the way you build it back up is through continued good performance. You can't really go back up through marketing. Like, you can apologize some, obviously, but the path to getting back to where you were comes through good operational performance effectively. And that takes a while.
For sure. Well, it'll be interesting, Jason. We'll have to regroup again, maybe after the upcoming holiday travel season, and see if there are any additional lessons learned there.
Exactly. So we'll see. Like, that's the question. They almost need an experience where one of the other airlines has a really bad week and they do fine. It's like, we haven't had that opportunity yet where it's gotten
right.
But that there's almost a little bit of that's required. It's like, for me as that's sort of what I would want to see.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, thanks so much for taking the time to connect on this. Really good to see you.
Absolutely. It's always good to catch up, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Take care.